The sound of crumpling paper echoed through the marble hallway of Westbridge. Academy like a gunshot. 17-year-old Madison Pierce stood frozen, her trembling fingers still, clutching the remnants of another failed calculus exam, her fifth this semester. Red ink bled across the page like accusations she couldn't escape. Outside the window, her father's corporate logo gleamed from the new science wing he'd funded, a constant reminder that while Richard Pierce could buy buildings, he couldn't buy his daughter's success. Madison's throat tightened as tears blurred her vision. She'd tried everything, expensive tutors, study apps, medication for focus, but the numbers still swam before, her eyes like mocking strangers. The worst part wasn't the failing grades. It was the look in her father's eyes each time she disappointed him. That flash of confusion that his own daughter could be so fundamentally broken. Rough day? A gentle voice interrupted her spiral. Madison looked up to find Mr. Chen, the evening janitor, pausing mid-sweep near the trophy case. He was older, maybe 50, with kind eyes that crinkled at the corners and calloused hands that had clearly known hard work. She'd seen him around but never really noticed him. Not the way she noticed teachers or administrators, or anyone who could influence her future. "Every day is rough," she muttered, shoving the crumpled test into her designer bag. Mr. Chen nodded slowly, returning to his sweeping with methodical precision. "You know what I've learned in my 53 years? The world doesn't care much about our test scores. It cares about what we do when we think nobody's watching." Madison almost laughed. Easy for him to say. He probably never had a billionaire father breathing down his neck, never faced the suffocating pressure of living up to a legacy built on excellence. But something in his tone made her pause. There was no judgment there, no pity, just simple truth delivered with the confidence of someone who'd earned his wisdom the hard way. Over the next few weeks, Madison found herself lingering after school, ostensibly to study in the library, but really waiting for those quiet moments when Mr. Chen would pass through. Their conversations started small, comments about the weather, observations about the paintings in the hallway, but gradually deepened into something unexpected. She learned that he was raising his 10-year-old daughter, Emma, alone after his wife had passed away 3 years earlier. He worked 2 jobs to afford Emma's medical treatments for juvenile diabetes, arriving at Westbridge at 4 each afternoon and leaving past midnight. Despite his circumstances, he smiled more genuinely than anyone Madison knew, including herself. "How do you do it?" Madison asked one evening, watching him carefully restore a student's artwork that had fallen from the wall. "Stay so positive when life is so hard?" Mr. Chen positioned the frame perfectly before answering. He gestured toward the hallway, now gleaming from his efforts. "Every day I make this school a little cleaner, a little safer, a little more beautiful. Does anyone notice? Rarely. Does anyone thank me? Almost never. But I notice, and the kids who walk these halls tomorrow will have a better environment because I cared enough to do my job well. That matters, Madison. Your worth isn't in your grades or your father's name. It's in how you treat people when you have nothing to gain from it." Madison felt something crack open inside her chest. She'd spent 17 years chasing achievement, believing that success would finally make her worthy of love, worthy of her father's pride, worthy of taking up space in the world. But Mr. Chen was suggesting something radical, that her value was inherent, not earned. The following Monday, Madison noticed Emma waiting outside the school, a small girl with dark circles under her eyes, clutching a worn backpack. Mr. Chen had mentioned she sometimes waited during his shift when the after-school program was closed. "Hi," Madison approached tentatively. "You're Emma, right?" The girl looked up, surprised that a high schooler knew her name. "Yeah. Are you one of my dad's friends?" "I guess I am," Madison realized, feeling something warm bloom in her chest. "Want some company while you wait?" That afternoon marked the beginning of a transformation Madison never saw coming. She started bringing homework to do alongside Emma, helping the younger girl with her math problems. Surprisingly, explaining concepts to a 10-year-old made Madison understand them better herself. But more than that, Emma's unfiltered joy at small victories, solving a division problem, finishing a worksheet, reminded Madison that learning wasn't about perfection. It was about progress. "You're really smart," Emma said one day, watching Madison work through a physics problem. "I fail every test, Madison replied automatically. So, my dad says smart isn't about tests. It's about kindness and paying attention and caring about stuff. You do all that? Madison stared at this wise child, feeling tears prick her eyes. When had she forgotten that intelligence came in so many forms? When had she let her father's narrow definition of success convince her she was worthless? The shift didn't happen overnight. Madison still struggled with tests, still felt anxiety clench her stomach before exams. But she started showing up differently. She noticed when the cafeteria worker looked tired and offered a genuine thank you. She helped younger students with their lockers without being asked. She organized a coat drive after learning that. Emma's family struggled to afford winter clothing. Her father noticed. "Your grades haven't improved," Richard Pierce said over dinner one evening, his disappointment palpable. "But Mrs. Henderson tells me you've been volunteering. Why waste time on that when you should be studying?" Madison took a deep breath. "Dad, I've been thinking. Maybe I'm not meant to be like you. Maybe I'm not going to run a company or cure cancer or do anything that gets my name on a building. But I can make people feel seen. I can make their days a little easier. Isn't that worth something?" Her father's expression shifted through confusion, frustration, and finally, something Madison had never seen before, uncertainty. "I just want you to have opportunities, Madison. To not struggle. I know, but Mr. Chen works 2 jobs and raises his daughter alone. And he's the happiest person I know. Maybe success isn't what we think it is." The real test came in December. Madison discovered that Emma needed a specialized insulin pump that cost $15,000. Money Mr. Chen simply didn't have. He'd been working extra hours, but it still wasn't enough. And Emma's condition was deteriorating. Madison made a choice. Her father had given her a credit card for emergencies and reasonable expenses. This qualified. She paid for the pump, knowing she'd face consequences but not caring. Some things mattered more than avoiding conflict. Richard Pierce arrived at Westbridge the next day, storming through the halls until he found Madison in her usual spot, reading with Emma while Mr. Chen worked nearby. $15,000, Madison? On someone else's medical expenses? Mr. Chen stepped forward, his face stricken. "Sir, I didn't know. Madison, you shouldn't have—" "But I did." Madison stood, meeting her father's eyes with newfound courage. "Because Emma needed help and I could give it. Because Mr. Chen has taught me more about what matters than any expensive tutor ever did. Because maybe the point of having money isn't to hoard it or to prove something. Maybe it's to actually help people." The hallway fell silent. Richard Pierce looked at his daughter, really looked at her, perhaps for the first time in years. He saw not the disappointing student who couldn't pass calculus, but a young woman who'd found something he'd long ago forgotten: purpose beyond profit, meaning beyond achievement. His shoulders sagged. "You failed another test last week." "I know. But you also." He glanced at Mr. Chen, at Emma, at the genuine community his daughter had built in this unlikely place. "You also passed one I didn't know I'd given you." Richard Pierce did something Madison had never seen. He sat down on the hallway floor, right there on the gleaming tiles Mr. Chen had polished, and he cried. Not the angry tears of frustration, but the relieved tears of a man who'd been lost and finally found his way home. "I've been measuring the wrong things," he whispered. "Building the wrong things. I named a science wing after myself. But you," he looked at Madison with wonder, "you saved a little girl's life. Tell me, daughter, who's the real success here?" Madison sat beside him, and for the first time in years, her father held her close, not in congratulations for an achievement, but in simple love for who she was. Mr. Chen continued sweeping, a knowing smile on his face, while Emma quietly took Madison's hand. Outside, snow began to fall on Westbridge Academy, covering everything in fresh possibility. Madison never did master calculus. She graduated in the bottom third of her class, but she also started a foundation, connecting wealthy families with working families in need. She learned that failing tests didn't mean failing at life, and she discovered that the most important lesson, the one that truly mattered, was the secret Mr. Chen had taught her all along. Your worth is measured not by what you accomplish for yourself, but by what you contribute to others when nobody's keeping score. Some secrets change everything. This one changed a girl who thought she was broken into a woman who knew she was whole.